Hey everybody. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to How Not to Bomb. And everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a story. We're going to hear one today, actually. My name is Michael Wheels Parise. I'm your host of the podcast How Not to Bomb. And the segment, Everybody's Got a Story. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to sit down with people who prove success isn't always in a straight line. Sometimes it's a winding road filled with setbacks, reinventions, and unexpected opportunities. Tonight's guest is someone many of you know from social media and YouTube as DerryX Dines. But his real story goes far beyond the videos. Born to a hard-working Italian immigrant parents, his mother from Naples, his father from Calabria, Jerry Papandrea grew up learning lessons he couldn't be taught in a classroom. His father built a successful butcher and salamoria business in Brooklyn from the ground up, and he taught Jerry the value of hard work, discipline, and responsibility. Ironically, while his father wanted him to learn the business, he also encouraged him to pursue something different: education. Jerry took the advice seriously. He excelled academically, earning a degree in chemistry and going on to complete advanced graduate studies before building a successful professional career on the analytical side of the business and science. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, When his marriage unexpectedly ended and his world seemed to be falling apart, Jerry found himself searching for a new direction. What started as networking on social media and a simple blog encouraged by a woman who would later become his wife became the foundation of an entirely new chapter. As combined his education, analytical thinking, and the entrepreneurial lessons his father taught him growing up, something remarkable happened. His audience grew. His content gained attention. He was featured in local newspapers. Opportunities began appearing, including the chance to participate in a Gordon Ramsay television production. Fast forward 16 years, and Jerry has built a recognizable personal brand, and that reaches thousands of people. What's even more remarkable is that many of the elements that made up his father's business, successful decades ago, are still a part of what Jerry does today. Even down to the color logos, the colors in the logos, the value that helped define the family's legacy. Tonight we're talking about family, resilience, reinvention, Italian-American roots, social media success, and how sometimes your greatest setback becomes the beginning of your greatest opportunity. Please welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Papandrea. I'm going to bring him into the studio, and here he is, people. Hey, Jerry, what's going on? Yeah, did you hear my opening? Were you able to see that?
No, it put you in this back room. I had it live streaming in the background. I was watching the live feed, so I saw when you were queuing up there.
Well, I apologize for some of the reading errors. My eyes don't do me well as much as they used to.
Okay.
And I don't have for some reason wasn't able to see, but I'm happy to have you on the show. This is technically your first appearance, but really your second appearance because you were on the first show of How Not to Bomb.
Yeah, I think that was you were trying to pilot, and it was a little messy, rocky there, but we got in there, and it was a good conversation.
It was a fun conversation. We had some fun. That was when Tony was on the show. Tony's no longer on the show because he gets very busy. He's just a busy guy, and he has no time. Knowing me, and you know how probably I am. I like to have things when I just want to get it done now. I do things like today. I want to do a show in 20 minutes. I just want to have that luxury, to be able to do that. So I guess I'm a control freak. It has to make me work. But anyway, I didn't know you're so let's get this straight. So your family, you're half Calabrese and half Napolitan. Your mother was Napolitan. Your father was Calabrese, correct?
Yep, that's right.
And what part of Calabria was he from? Do you know?
Reggio Calabria.
Reggio. And what about your mom?
My mom, my mom came over when she was 2. So she doesn't know quite as much about her history because she's like she came with her parents. My dad actually came on his own with his brothers, and then his parents came later.
How old was your dad when he came here?
I want to say 8 or 9, but
okay.
Yeah. So 1967. So he would have been 11 or 12.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
So I remember. I realize I do know your father is no longer with us. I remember you saying
he passed last month. I figured actually that'd be a good opportunity to kind of open up about a little bit of that stuff. And when you asked me, my story, I figured extrapolate back to all that stuff, and it could make for something interesting, maybe something a little emotional. You never know.
Well, we're sorry to hear that that happened. I know you were very close to your dad. You look a lot like your dad.
You think so?
Do you think it's the Papandreas? I've seen a few other Papandreas out there. You all kind of have that same very strong look.
Yeah, so if I showed you pictures of my grandmother on my mother's side, you'd probably say, all right, I don't see any Papandrea in you. I see your grandmother, because that's kind of the resemblance. But I do get that a lot because, my dad was a kind of a bigger, heavier set guy. And Calabrese have strong features for the most part, too. So.
I'm also Calabrese. We're Gabadosta. We're very hard-headed people. We don't listen to anybody.
Right.
Is that true of you, or did you break that?
No, I mean, there's certain things, and you know this too. Like at a certain point, you got to break the patterns of the old-fashioned stuff, because you have those old-fashioned values, and I do too. But the roots are still there. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I like to say I'm new generation, but some things I sink back into the old school.
Growing up with an Italian family, Italian American, you would be you would be Italian American. They would be Italian American. You would be American Italian.
Yeah, I guess you could.
I mean, whatever. We call it all Italian American to me. It's all the same.
My parents they naturalized back in 1920, so they're essentially American citizens.
Okay, so yeah, same with like my family. But what's interesting is that because you were in the food industry, your father was, right, when you were young.
Yep.
But the Napolitans are really known for being the better cooks, from what they say. In our generation, the Napolitans are known better than any other part of Italy. They say the Napolitans are the best cooks, and the Abruzzese.
Yeah, I guess that would be true. The only thing is that my grandparents they couldn't cook their way out of a paper bag. It was
really
it was pretty bad. Yeah, like my dad used to tell stories about how they would go there for Thanksgiving and they'd cook the turkey with the gizzards in it. I remember going to their house and eating pasta that was let's say far below al dente. Crunchy pasta.
Out the box pasta. Basically.
That's right. But
remember years ago, pasta. We used to call it macaroni when I was growing up. I don't know if you called it macaroni. We called it macaroni.
Yeah, we did too. Yeah.
Whatever happened to that? Why don't people call it macaroni? It's an actually macaroni product. If you look on most of the boxes, it'll say a macaroni product.
You know what it is? And I've been ranting about stuff like this on social media the last couple of days with hot dogs and stuff like that.
Yes.
In the last 20 years, because of the internet and the nature of people just wanting to say something about everything that they have to say, people are just so judgmental about everything, and people are afraid to say the wrong thing.
It's true.
The thing I'm on about right now is that everybody seems to care that people put ketchup on hot dogs.
Yeah, I was watching that video of yours.
What are you, a child? Okay, here's the thing, because you used to have a hot dog cart, so you're qualified to talk about this more than anybody.
Yeah.
What the three condiments that are there: ketchup, mustard, relish, right?
Right.
Well, if you're not supposed to put the ketchup on there, then why is it there? Why would you offer it? Yeah.
I think it's demographic. It's regional. So growing up in New York, right? We just mustard and onion, kraut. That's about it. Mustard plain. Spicy mustard, that's about it. So I think it's regional. So because growing up in Florida when I was young, I would have ketchup on a hot dog. I would even put mayonnaise on a hot dog. Mayonnaise and ketchup is delicious on a hot dog.
So my point, Wheels, is who cares? Like hot dog is one of the most customizable things. Why does that stand for judgment? You know what I mean? Like why does somebody have to have an opinion on that? And I think the same thing goes to your point of macaroni. Like, oh, now it's pasta. Oh, we have to call it ziti rigati. You can't.
Right.
If you don't have the one with the lines, you can't say it's ziti rigati. It's like, okay, whatever. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? People just get too mired in the detail and the vernacular.
I think it's the modern Italians who ruined it for the Italian Americans, because now it's not our family's generation. It's the ones who are coming over here now, who don't say macaroni, who don't say gravy or whatever, like the old gravy sauce debate. I mean, I say whatever makes you happy and whatever love in your home, say that word. I mean, if it's gravy in your house and it makes you love each other and you're happy and you can enjoy it, then it's gravy to you. But I agree. But I think it's the Italians who they ruin it for everybody.
I think that's part of it, Wheels, but I think there's also like the Food Network and that kind of foodie culture that everything has to be so precise. Snobs is a good word for it, but it's like, all right, you go to the store and you're looking for a very specific type of salami, and if they don't have it, oh my God, I can't make the recipe. Like getting locked into that and then being judgmental about you can't call that puttanesca because you didn't put green olives, you put black olive. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
It's that kind of, and it's funny because growing up, it was gravy and it was macaroni to me. But it's funny because nowadays, when years ago, red packed tomatoes and ronzoni macaroni was the gold standard in our neighborhood. Okay. And then all of a sudden, all these other great pastas started coming in. Like then it was the Checo. If you had the Checo, you had money. And that was like, oh my God, they used the Checo. This is a premium spot. But to be honest with you, I feel that the pastas nowadays, like the Seggianos, or I use a lot of different. I love the dry, slow dried pastas. I do think it's a better product, and I wish it was back around those days. But I will agree that the pastas of today are much better, and even the tomatoes. There's some great tomatoes out.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's interesting. So you grew up in the business. How old were you when your father had the butcher shop? You had a Sala Maria or a butcher shop?
Sal Maria, so it's kind of both. So when growing up, my dad he owned Paradiso Pork Store on 13th Avenue in Brooklyn, which is what really? It's in I don't know the neighborhoods that well, but if you're on social media, you've probably seen Crispy Pizza.
Yeah,
Crispy Pizza is
Dyker Heights, Fort Hamilton Parkway, right
Dyker Heights. That's it. Yeah. So literally right next door to the left of Crispy Pizza was Paradiso Pork Store, my dad's deli.
Wow.
And he would do the fresh mozzarella. He would smoke the mozzarella in the back. So when I was 5 years old, my dad was bringing me there. He'd give me a yoo-hoo. He'd make me help to move the mozzarella from the water into the salt water, and then help to wrap it up and things like that. So I was working at a pretty young age. We moved upstate when I was 7 to Middletown, and my dad opened a pork store called Famous Delilicious Italian Pork Store.
Okay.
And that was kind of where I did most of my bonding with my dad. So I worked there from when I was 12 years old until graduate school. So I was about 25 when I stopped working there.
What?
So I would go for, when I was in college, I'd go for holidays and for the summer and stuff like that, until I put my foot down and I said, look, like, I got to do something else. And I got a job at Circuit City, and I made like a third of the money that I made working for him at a principal. But yeah, I did grow up working in that, and I'd help him make the sausage. He wouldn't let me make the mozzarella for some reason. It was either him or my uncle that would make it in the morning. But I'd help we would do marinated mozzarella where we'd make like knots. He'd let me do the knots, but he wouldn't let me do like the the treccia and all the forming the mozzarella and stuff like that. It was that was their thing that they had to do.
So they had the place in where was it? What area of New York was it?
It's Middletown, Orange County.
Middletown,
so right near Goshen.
So did he get rid of the place in Brooklyn, or did he keep both and have somebody run that?
He sold it to my cousin.
Okay.
Yep.
And how long was it in existence? And is it still there? I don't know if it's still there.
No, it's now an Asian grocery store. I actually looked on Google Maps just to see what's next to, because my son's watching Crispy Pizza on YouTube, and he's like, Dad, we got to go to this place. I'm like, Grandpa had a deli right next door. My father actually knew the guy that Freddie, who was on the videos.
Yeah, they're famous.
Yeah. So my dad, we were going to take a trip down there this summer, but shit happens. But
what I love about it though is that you grew up around it, and then when you worked in it from 12 years old until you went to grad school, so you really do understand the business, and you understand that's backbreaking hard work, but it also it's a lot of passion and love in the business, don't you think?
Yeah, my dad worked 60, 70 hours a week. Like I said, my bonding with my father was in the store.
Right.
When he was home, he was tired. He would get home at 8 o'clock at night, watch TV for a little bit, and he'd go to bed, and then he'd be out of the house by 7 o'clock. So, and I'd be going to school, so I was out of the house before that. So, and he would work Saturday and Sunday. So really, the only day we would see him, Sunday they would close early, and we'd have like a family dinner kind of thing. So when I worked there, I was working with my dad. So that's when me and my dad actually had our bonding time.
Right. And what was it like working with your dad? Did he teach you lessons and stuff? Did you learn a lot of different things about life working with your dad side by side?
In terms of like, how to deal with people and watching them work with the vendors and things like that. My dad was more the workhorse kind of guy, so he'd be in the back making sausage. He didn't like dealing with the customers. My uncle would be more of the front facing customer service guy. He could sell you anything. He'd be chasing customers around, giving them samples. They'd say, "Oh, give me a pound of that." He'd make sure it was 1.5 pounds so that we get a little extra on the bill there. So those are the types of things that I learned with them. And then just in terms of making sure people left happy, and making sure if somebody asked for mayonnaise on their Italian sub, we weren't like, "Oh, what are you talking about?"
Yeah, you didn't insult anybody.
We'll take the extra 50 cents for that, because back then you could charge that because Subway wasn't around.
Right. Which brings me to the question of: did you think that being in that business is something you would have been with for the rest of your life? But then it's like, did your father want something else for you?
Yeah, so my father was strict that like I had to go to college and I couldn't do that. So he didn't want that for me, but also he was talking out of both sides of his mouth, because you got to come home for the holidays and you got to help me out. Even when you're working. 'Cause, like, I got a job my first job in 2006, and I told him, look, with my paid time off, like I could come down for Christmas Eve.
How far away were you? If you're saying come down.
So I live in Albany, and they're in Middletown. It's about a 2-hour drive.
Okay, interesting.
But it's more about just the timing of everything, and having to report to a real, not when I say real, I mean a career job. And then I couldn't just take the time off during the holiday because there's seniority and things like that. So my dad was disappointed that I couldn't go work for him for the holidays and things like that. So. He was adamant that I had to go to school, I had to get the degree, and then once you're in the college system, I went to college for chemistry, and when you get to the end of college, what they don't tell you is they don't have a plan for you. So you either go into industry or you go into graduate school. They want you in graduate school, so I went to graduate school. I did 5 years in graduate school, and in my last year, my advisor ended up leaving. And rather than follow him to Delaware to finish, I just said, I'm going to write up as a master's and leave. So I'm doing all this, and all along, my dad was very encouraging, but also like, hey, you're going to come back and help me out here and stuff like that. But he that was never like a succession plan.
It wasn't a priority, though. If you really couldn't, he understood.
Yeah.
So your priority, you prioritize.
He was the king of guilt, but yeah, he understood. Let's say, quote unquote.
So your father was how long did they have the place till?
So my dad retired back in 2015 just due to health reasons. He had a heart thing that he needed some surgery for, and that was a time that he just sold it to my uncle. And then my uncle closed it in 2020, and it was they were actually thriving because my uncle spun off a balsamic vinegar and imports kind of thing where they were doing mail order and also pickup type stuff. And he's still doing that part of it, but the in-store part, my uncle is now I think he's 72 or 73. So he reached 67 and was like, I'm done.
I'm done.
So he sold it, and I think it's closed now. But yeah, it's no longer functioning.
I think that when you grow up in that industry, in that business, and then go to school, and but you still think back at it though. Do you feel that we were talking about judgmental, about ketchup on a hot dog, but do you feel that you're judgmental when you walk into another deli or another place like that and you order a sandwich, or let's say you go to Jersey Mike's or Subway? I mean, do you feel that you're judgmental because if you feel you know better and it's not supposed to be this way? Do you have that attitude?
It's a different thing. So my judgmental is actually the other side of it. So in the middle of all this, between around 2010, I started getting into content creation and doing stuff online. That was because what I started seeing was all of this, I'm going to call it unqualified, creators who were just going around saying, oh, I'm going to this and it's good. Okay, well, what's good about it? Can you explain what's going on? You have no industry knowledge. I don't know what your tastes are. like what value are you giving to people here? Whereas I could have brought a little bit more of like, okay, like this is more like your traditional Italian deli type thing.
Right.
What bothers me these days, like, so in my area, there's a couple of like I would say classic Italian deli type places
In Albany.
Yeah, in Albany.
From what I hear, Albany, and I've been to Albany, and I performed
Yep.
at the Egg. I've been to some places. There was some real hardcore Italians out in Albany, and they're doing some like real hardcore stuff. I mean,
So,
they're making their own sausages. They're making their own, supersata. I mean, heavy duty.
There's only a couple places left doing that, and my big pet peeve now is one of them got kind of like engulfed in the marketing and social media part of it. So like you walk in and it's like, you ever see the movie Caddyshack 2?
But yeah.
Remember when he turns the Bushwood Estates into like Great Adventure, and the golf course is like a giant mini golf course?
Too much. Yeah, yeah.
It's like that. It's like, you go online and it's branding, and you go in there and
Aesthetics.
It's
Everything is aesthetics now.
and you go in and you're like, all right, let me get the Italian sub. They're like, okay, which one do you want? There's the Louis, the Joey, the this, the that, and like you order it, and then you get back and you unwrap it, and it's like, okay, like, all right, there's 4 ounces of meat on a foot long roll, and
Right.
the lettuce is not shredded, it's cut with a knife really unevenly, and it's like it's the type of thing where it's like I judge something like that more on the execution and less on the like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
So it's so you're saying they maybe they went more corporate now. Everything's being weighed and everything is being sliced a certain way, and you walk in, it's all about how Instagrammable it could be and all that stuff.
That's the type of thing that bothers me more than like, okay, is the meat, are the meats like what I would have done on a sub? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like if I'm going to give a commentary, it's going to be, how does the whole thing taste, and then relating it to how we used to do it, and what improvements have they made, and what things have they changed that really don't work anymore.
Right. I think the world of content creation is changing the way a lot of restaurants do business. For instance, when I was living in Nashville, there's an area called the Gulch. And the Gulch is the trendy foodie spot where everybody goes for their trendy foods, Then over here in Tampa, they have restaurants, trendy restaurants. And then over here in Tampa, they have an area called Hyde Park, which is, again, the trendy restaurants are opening up and it's all aesthetic and it's all Instagrammable. And I think, sometimes I even buy into the hype because I'm like, wow, this place looks great and the menu is beautiful. And then I go, it sucks. I went to a place in Nashville called The Modern Pizza, The Modern Italian Restaurant. I'm like, all the rave. Everybody was like the most popular restaurant and people are taking selfies. The food sucked. It was like the worst pizza I've ever had. Like boxed. Like they got it at a Costco. Garbage. So it's really hard to distinguish greatness anymore, I think, with the way content creators are doing it.
There's a couple of problems with it, and this is something I was talking about with my friends. Like I have some, like I'm friends with a few of the newer content creators because I've been doing it 16 years now, and I'm at the point where I'm tired. But I'm talking to a lot of the newer people, and they're getting discouraged because they're seeing how much reach people are getting with really thin content that's just like, oh yeah, this is good, and this is the best, these are the best tacos I ever had, and
Right.
whatever it is. And so there's a couple things. Number one, things in restaurants right now are very difficult. Costs are high. Customers are being very discerning about where they're spending their money. So winning the customer is already hard enough. Then you have these people going into the restaurants, asking for free meals, asking to get paid to do these reviews,
Right.
who really are not doing a service to these restaurants. And then when people go there, they're like, you know what? I saw this guy. He went in there and he said these were the best tacos. I don't know. They're average. I'm not going back there.
Right.
And it's just like it's a vicious cycle. And I feel like things are coming to a head for a lot of those things between the economy and the creator economy kind of clashing into it. I don't know where I fit into that right now in terms of like what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that, and I think you're right about that. The creation. I think that people are putting more money into the marketing than in the quality of the product. I went to another place again the other day. We went in Tampa. I mean, it was an okay spot, but they make the place is packed, and all the influencers are eating there, and it's like, I even buy into it. I'm like, really? How good? And how good could it be? And it was just like, it was okay. If it was just a regular place, I would have said, I'd rather go into a place that is not into the marketing and the food be subpar and say, it was okay, than walk into a place that I'm thinking is going to be amazing and say, oh, it's okay, because then that it's okay becomes it sucked.
Yeah.
I just paid $300 for what,
There's a portion of trust that you lose there, because it's like, I'm seeing this online, like what gives here, what am I missing? And I'm not going to go spend another $300 there just to see, you know what I mean?
Right. I think that there's a formula in content creation, especially now you have your YouTube channel, which is great. You've been doing videos for how many, about 6-7 years now on DerryX?
Yeah, since 2018. 2018.
So I watch your videos, but I believe how they say in the sitcom world, like there's a formula to a sitcom to be a success, like Seinfeld and Cheers and these shows. There was a formula for it to get popular, be a hit. I think when you do your content, I think you're following. There's something about your videos are great. I love them, and I think you have a formula in there. You're doing something a certain way. I just can't figure it out, but it just draws you in, to want to watch the whole thing. Is it the way you're cutting it? Is it what you're saying and how you're saying it? Or there's got to be something in there. I'm trying to figure out what the formula was.
A lot of this is. Just over the last 7 years, just trial and error. And when I started, things have adapted a lot differently in terms of the last 7-8 years. My content kind of shifted in a lot of different directions. When I started out, I was doing more lifestyle stuff. So pick up the camera and it's like, all right, we're gonna go out to this restaurant tonight, but before we do that, we're gonna go to see the Impractical Jokers movie or whatever it is, and you kind of follow me through a day. That type of thing, when you're a nobody, is hard to gain the traction. So that made me kind of tailor the content back to, okay, well here's the restaurant, here's what's special about it, and then when you start to see that if you do it linearly, people just aren't going to watch, because they like a fat guy going to a restaurant and eating the food and liking it. That formula isn't going to work. But if you take it and you chop it up to okay, what's the hook? What exactly is the special thing? And you bring that to the front, and you can gain their trust with making that part interesting, then you can take them through the beginning parts of it. So then that kind of evolved into, all right, I'm going to do recipes also. So I started doing recipes, kind of simple things I was cooking in my kitchen.
I was watching the one recipe. I was watching the one you just did about the cold cheese sandwich with the eggplant and the chicken parm. Yep. And you use the burrata on the bread. So great. I mean, that's something I would eat. When you say cold, but it hooks them in when you say the cold cheese sandwich. You don't say burrata, because then it's understandable when you say burrata. So who's going to click on that? Oh, I've seen a million burrata. But then the cold cheese. Well, what is that? Click.
Yep. And that also kind of has a cold cheese pizza is a thing in Oneonta, and also there's Florida. There's a couple places where it's like they take a hot slice of pizza and they put cold cheese on it. So that was the concept. So I also kind of tied to that, so that kind of triggers that emotion. Triggering the emotion as far as the content. Those are the types of things that's the formula that's going to win, really.
Right.
And if you start that at the beginning of the video and you carry it through, you kind of keep gaining that trust. And then you get people to watch.
And you do, because you didn't mention the cheese. You didn't even show the cheese till the end.
Well, so that's a future evolution. So right now, what I started doing earlier this year was I got the Meta glasses, and I said, you know what, let me try doing point of view cooking stuff, because it's kind of hard to.
Was that filmed on Meta, by the way?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Up until the part where you see me eating it, the eating it part I do on a tripod with my camera.
Okay.
But with the Meta glasses, this way I got both hands. I could do it, because filming with one hand and cooking is hard, or staging stuff and lighting and things like that. So this way I could go in there and I can cook it in real time, and then I cut it up on my phone, and so that's another part of it. So over the years, doing the content the certain way that I was doing it, it became so much work, where it's like, okay, I got the footage, I got to get the footage in there, I have to trim the footage down, edit it, figure out what the story is, do voiceovers and things like that. Whereas now I could do everything on the Meta glasses on my phone, and I could cut it around on my phone, and I could get a video out within an hour.
That's fantastic.
And what I'm finding is that if I put in all this extra work versus doing something like the cold cheese, I'm getting similar reach. So why bother with those kind of more elaborate videos. You know.
So you like you're actually convincing me to go out and buy the Meta. I was up in the air about it, and I didn't think that by looking at that video, I didn't realize it can do it that well.
Yep. Yeah.
Because it's basically your point of view. It's all POV. It's all right there.
Yep.
You know. Yeah.
Yep. The couple things that I don't like about it are it's pretty shaky, and they don't have any stabilization. So I've been kind of testing out. I have a GoPro that I have like a neck rig that I could put it on, so I'll try to get the same kind of angle using a better camera. I'm going to try that. But the other thing that's kind of a little iffy about the Meta, and this is just me being picky, is just the colors are a little weird. Like it's a little washed out in terms of like it's more black and white than it is colorful.
Right. Okay.
So I just like that. You can see my background here. I got a lot of colors.
But you can enhance the color if you wanted to, right? When you're editing.
That's true, but at the same time, it's like, why do that stuff in editing? And if you could do it in camera, you know what I mean? It just makes it easier. So I have equipment. It's not like I don't have it.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I'm sure you seem like you would have all that stuff. I want to rewind a little bit because, well, first of all, I want to rewind to why chemistry. Out of all things, what made you say I want to get into chemistry?
So when I was in high school, I had a teacher. In 9th grade earth science who pulled me aside and he's like, you have a desire and a knowledge of science that is really outstanding, and I really think that because they used to do these things with placement tests back in like the middle school where you would do these standardized tests, and then that would decide whether you'd go into like the advanced placement honors classes type thing. And I didn't do well in those tests, so I never made it into the classes with the honors kids in 8th grade. So when I got to high school, it was that conversation with that science teacher. He said, I like we'll work a little extra. What I think you should do is plan to take chemistry and physics your junior year together at the same time. He's like, people don't do that, but if you do that, then you could take advanced placement chemistry, which is a college course in your senior year. And you can get college credit, or what you could do is actually take that, and then when you get to college, you could retake general chemistry and you can ace it. So I actually did all of that. So I took the physics and chemistry in junior year of high school, and so the other thing is I was a good student all around. Like I don't want to say I was a straight A student because I had my B's in there, but I did get A's a lot. And then in New York, we had the Regents exams. So they had to make a special accommodation for me to take the Regents exams for chemistry and physics because they were scheduled for the same time. So I had to take chemistry, and then they gave me a half an hour break, and then I had to take physics. And they were under lock and key, those exams, because they didn't want kids getting their hands on them and cheating and things like that. So I took both of those. I got 100 on the chemistry, and I got 99 on the physics.
Do you feel that right? That because all right, and that's great. But I want to know: do you feel that analytical thinking helps you in all aspects of the world, other than just your job?
Yeah, it's one of those things it's a blessing and a curse because when you look at things from that analytical lens, analytical is actually a good word because that kind of summarizes 20 years of my industry experience too, because that was analytical chemistry, but. Looking at things in those types of in that type of light, it kind of puts you right on the bubble of problem solving. So when something comes up, you're not thinking about, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like you're thinking about what do I have to do right now to get myself out of this problem. So like even so last month, my dad had a medical incident, and my family called me and they're like, you got to get down here. Like, we don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So, in my brain, it's like, okay, like this could be it. What do I have to do for myself to make it such that like I can weather this blow? Cause like, obviously it's going to suck. And like that analytical thinking is like, okay, like I have a 2-hour drive. What do I need for that 2-hour drive? What do I need to do during that 2-hour drive? So yes, I do think that analytical mindset definitely helps me in a lot of aspects. But when it comes to like decision making for like family type stuff, my wife is more of an empath, and she, wants to think about all the angles and, how does it affect this person and that person. where that type of thinking, you kind of have to take a more global view, rather than thinking toward the solution. You have to think toward everything, and it gets us into a little bit of arguments are kind of strong, but disagreements, let's say.
Disagree. So it's really analytical thinking is actually logical thinking in a sense, because you have to think logical to put yourself in that mindset, not to think critical. So let me ask you this: what was life like before 2018 and you started getting into content? What was Jerry's life like at that point? And I know that you went through some stuff. There were some trials and tribulations. There was some crazy stuff that happened to you. Before, what happened there? What was life like for you before you made that huge impact?
I mean, there's a big amount of years there, and a lot of things that happened within those years. So, I finished graduate school in 2006. Went to work in industry, analytical chemistry. I got a job pretty much right out of graduate school. I worked there for a year. That they laid me off. I ended up landing my dream job and then working there for 17 years. In between that, I was in a relationship, and that relationship was going really well. And then 2010 hit, and I don't know what happened, and we both kind of drifted apart, and it was one of those things where we just like, okay, we got to end this, and we kind of moved. Like, we had gotten married in 2007, and we got divorced in 2010.
Okay.
In the process of that, I met my current wife, and I always
How'd you guys
wanted
meet?
to get. We met through Twitter, actually.
Wow.
In 2008, 2009, the local Twitter thing. This is also kind of how my social media took off. There was a lot of networking going on, and I kind of got to meet a lot of the local personalities, like newscasters, news reporters, writers for different websites and newspapers and things like that. So my wife would organize these things. She would call them tweet ups, and somebody invited me to one, and we just got to know each other. And then after I got divorced, we just decided, let's see if this is going to work out. And then we ended up getting married and stuff like that. So,
now you have a child. Yeah, well, it's not a child anymore. How old is he now?
He'll be 10 next week, actually.
He's big. He's getting there, man. And and do you think he's going to follow in your footsteps on the content creation side? Do you think he's going to follow in your footsteps in the analytical chemistry side?
It's hard to say.
Or do you think he has his own identity?
I think he's a very different person, but in terms of the content creation, I think a lot of the younger generation at this point is thinking about that a lot, because that's a lot of what they see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I put a camera on him, he's instantly he knows how to talk to the camera to make it engaging and to be a character. You know what I mean? So I think he could do that.
He knows when it's time to turn it on. Like, turn it.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that personality all the time anyway. But he definitely when the camera's on him, he knows, okay, get to the point, make it interesting, and that's why we do our silly snack reviews. I include him in that, and then I'll do like a longer director's cut where I'll keep more of his reactions in there, just because it's more fun.
It's fun stuff to do too with your son too, and it's it's nice, clean fun. You guys get to do stuff together. I think that's wonderful, and I love watching it. I see him on Instagram all the time. How was the brand born? DerryX Dines. How did that happen?
So we're telling this, like, the story is actually like naturally falling in. So I always wanted to do blogging and things like that. And
I'm a great interviewer, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I know how to. I might not know I might not look like I know what I'm doing, but I kind of know how to sway it there. It's
the calabrese. We all look a little.
Yeah.
And
we all think we're better than everybody else.
That's right. So I always wanted to do like when I saw blogging came out, it was around 2004, 2005. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, you can make, like, I was making websites before that, and trying to get people to see my website. So blogging was a thing. So I started a blog in 2004. It was called Neri Soft. It was always a play off of Jerry. It was either Jerry, Neri, Derry.
Okay, all right.
So
Mary Soft. Gotcha.
I launched that. It was like Blogger was the service that was back then. Literally, I put a post up. I don't even remember what the post was about. Overnight, the traffic took off, And I started interacting with people in Canada. I remember a couple of the names of the people that I used to go to their blogs, and you would cross-link and things like that. And it got really big. One of the things that had happened was my ex-wife, we were pretty big in the bubble of the graduate school thing, and I got myself into a little bit of trouble publishing some of the stuff there that got me into trouble with graduate school, and it kind of was one of those things that, you know, she discouraged me from, and I kind of withdrew from doing anything online.
Okay.
And then around 2008, that's when Twitter became a thing, and I listened to a radio show where they were encouraging kind of getting on Twitter and interacting, and I was networking with that kind of group of people. And the people locally, like the newspaper people and stuff like that, and that's how I met my wife. And then in 2010, after I got divorced, you know, I would go out with my current wife, and she was a big foodie. I didn't like to go to places that were hard to get to. So like if I had to park like on the street, I wouldn't go to these places. But she really wasn't shy about that. So she would take me to all these places that I had never tried before. And, you know, you take some pictures, and she's like, you know, put it up on a blog. Like, why not? Like you have the knowledge. So she encouraged me to kind of do that.
That's great.
And like the blog that I started then, which I called DerryX, which was like, DerryX is just a play off of Jerry. And then like if you look at the sad, like the angry emoji, it's like the eyebrows are slanted in, and then the frowny face. So it looks kind of like an X. So that was like
interesting.
My gamer handle that I took into like a keyboard. So I was writing about random stuff. My first blog post for that was just my espresso machine and saying, "Hey, I like espresso." Like it was the stupidest thing. But
is it still up there, by the way?
Yeah, my if you go to DerryX.com, you could see my entire archive of blog posts.
I'm gonna have to go to that one.
So what I did was, one of them, like, all right, let's call it DerryX Dines, and we'll go to this place called Ilium Cafe.
Ilium.
Yeah, it's not there anymore.
Okay.
It was a restaurant that we really loved, but the weird thing about it was the story about this place was the chef was making sushi, and one of her sushi rolls she called the antipasto sushi roll, where it had roasted peppers. It was rice, like an Italian seasoned rice, with inside roasted peppers, salami, and artichoke hearts rolled up with provolone cheese inside. Mm-hmm. And she would cut it up and serve it with the what do you call it? The vinegar from the jardinera and chopsticks. So it's like, hey, you know what? This is an interesting thing. Like it kind of ties the Italian deli. And the day after I posted that, the food critic from the local newspaper reposted it, and everybody saw it. And then it was like, oh, this is a cool new voice in our community. And that kind of took off. I ended up being like, I want to call it like the punk rock version of the foodies that were in the area.
Okay.
Everybody was kind of writing about the same places, and then I would go to these places and I would have different experiences from these people. So the blogs would always have like a different spin off of that, off of what you would normally see. So it would be like the food critic would like to link to that because he would say, hey, this guy went there and it was nothing like these other people. What's going on here? It was a story. Also at the same time, Jersey Shore was a big thing. For some reason, I started doing these Jersey Shore recaps, and the second one that I wrote, the day after, it got 150,000 views, which I had never gotten anywhere near that. So I'm like, all right, I'm onto something here. So I kept that going, and that kind of built, like, locally in the area. I was doing, I was getting invited to like judging competitions as like a personality and things like that. There was a point where Gordon Ramsay, this was on your banner, and I put that in the notes for you. Gordon Ramsay was recording locally one of his shows. It was a spin-off of Kitchen Nightmares called Hotel Hell. Okay. And they invited me to be one of the diners before, even though there's very little camera time. Like,
I've seen a lot of his episodes. I gotta look. I used to like Hotel Hell, actually. I've seen a couple of those episodes.
So the episode that I was involved in was the Cambridge Hotel, which is famous for apple pie a la mode. It's the first place that made apple pie a la mode.
And what hotel is this?
It's called the Cambridge Hotel.
Cambridge
it's in
Hotel.
Cambridge, New York.
Okay, I have to check it out.
Near Saratoga. the episode that it's a really weird episode of that show, like just to let you know, and like there's only one cut where you could see us in the background, so like I wasn't really featured on it or anything,
Right.
But
Yeah.
I was involved in the taping, and all that, and even to the point where actually after the show I got to know the person whose family runs that place, and I rented the room that Gordon Ramsay renovated, and that's where I proposed to my wife.
Wow.
To just tie it all into kind of the thing.
How
so
it
it was
all,
kind of a nice little,
tie-in for sure.
Yeah. So we always have that story.
I love the
And,
story.
Cambridge is definitely one of those things, and tying it to Gordon Ramsay and the blog and how she kind of encouraged me through that. That was kind of a thing. But kind of fast forwarding a little bit, 2016 is when my son was born. I was getting really burned out on the content creation, and it's actually kind of similar to a lot of the feelings I have right now, where I just didn't know where I fit in. I went to a couple of local events where it was really clear that the creators were trying to take advantage of the businesses, and instead of like trying to highlight what they were doing, it was more about, okay, what's the free swag you're giving us today, like, and that I felt that was really really shitty, and I didn't want to be part of that.
Good.
So I stopped. I kept the blog going. I like maybe 3 or 4 posts until in 2018. I also at the same time I bought a GoPro camera because I was doing my certification for DDP yoga to be an instructor for that, because I had a lot of success with that, losing weight. So I wanted to actually pass that along to other people by becoming an instructor. So I had this camera equipment that I was using for that aspect of what I was doing at the time, and I'm like, you know what, let me see what it takes to make videos, and get into that, and YouTube, and it seems easy, it's free, so that was kind of what sparked that. And the first video I made sitting right in this spot right here with that GoPro camera, it's still up on the channel. I feel like keeping that stuff up there makes it authentic, because you can kind of see the progress. But that was just like me talking a little bit about, here's my background, here's what I've done, and that kind of thing, and then kind of spiraled into what it is now. But in terms of what made me start doing it, it was just the need to do something creative outside of that analytical work stuff.
Keeps the creative going. What don't people see behind the scenes when you're doing something like that? What goes into it that people don't see? I mean, your videos, there's work involved. It's not just eat and just post. What goes into it?
So the thing about YouTube, it like now it's a lot easier because the phones make it such that you could do everything on the phone and you can get it out there. But if you have expectations that you're going to publish something and you're going to get thousands of views overnight, that's just not the reality. Your shorts makes it a little easier because because people scroll, they're more willing to show those to people. Whereas if you got to click on a thumbnail for something, good luck, because if you log on to YouTube, there's 8 thumbnails there. 7 of them are Mr. Beast. So, and people are going to click on that before they're going to click on you.
I noticed the shorts. I noticed like in my videos, my videos get, I get actually more people listening to the show on the platforms like Spotify, Apple, and all that than I do on YouTube. But I noticed my shorts get a lot of traction, much more than the video.
There's a couple things to look at there. So there's views, and there's what they call engaged views. The views are like anytime it comes up on the person's screen, and if they swipe, if they watch for a reasonable amount of time, they'll call that an engaged view. So like if they swipe right away, that view is kind of garbage. It's more like an impression than a view.
Okay.
So look at engaged views, but it should have a similar pattern to for that video, because you're at the point where we are. We're not getting these like mega impressions where like thousands of people are seeing our stuff. It's more like in the tens, hundreds kind of thing. So that data is still kind of in the in the baseline. But over time you build momentum, and that's kind of what I was seeing is like I published a video. For some reason they put Alton Brown relaunched Good Eats, and they put the episode of him making chicken parm on YouTube a day before they were going to air it on Food Network. So I saw it. I'm like, you know what? This is probably a good opportunity to make a video, remake his chicken parm, and say, what is this guy doing? Because he put salt and vinegar potato chips in there. He used fontina cheese instead of mozzarella cheese. It's like, okay, like, you know, there's something to comment on here. So I published that video, and because people were searching for good eats because they knew it was coming back, the next morning I woke up and there were 3,000 views, and I had never seen anything like that. So those types of things, those small wins kind of keep you going. You know what I mean?
Right. I just had Erin Wexler on the show. I'm not sure if you know her. She's a right-leaning comedian in the world.
I listened to the episode.
So I just looked at the analytics on that, and I noticed that show's got two on the podcast episode, 1,500 views.
I'm
on
not
that
surprised.
particular
Not one bit.
But yet on the other shows, 50, 60, 80, 150, it's starting to go up. I notice my numbers are going up, and I notice I'm getting a lot more downloads. But her particular episode, Aaron's episode, got that many views. So it makes me think that it's all in the wording, the verbiage, the keywords, not even keywords, the way you hashtag it or what you say in the hook when you're hooking somebody, and it's really about that hook, I think.
That's part of it, but also like just the political climate. This is why you see a lot of that political content surfacing, is because they know people are going to watch it. So that's kind of the trap, is like, when you see something like that take off, it's like, okay, I got to do more like that, right? But the like that part of it is where you start to sell your soul to.
That's
like,
right, which I won't do.
So that's the advice I would give you, is like,
well, 1 minute I'm talking to Aaron about what she's talking about, next minute we're talking about chicken parmesan. Like, I won't go there. Like, I won't make it a political show. I mean, people know what I am. I don't have to go and say it every episode. I don't need to bash anybody. I'm who I am, and that's the end of it. And I think that anybody else should be who they are, and that's the end of it. But I do think I should have guests on like her, and even left style ones too. I mean, there's that room for discussion, as long as it's a good discussion. But like, I won't just sell my soul and say, "Wow, that worked. Okay, we got to find more political people." No, I won't do that.
What it is the more you can play into an emotion, whether it's uproar over political stuff, or emotion over a hot dog, ketchup on a hot dog, the more you can play into that, the more you're gonna get out of the reach of the video. Because
I get that though. But Jerry, how did it go from 3 subscribers to now you got over 10,000? How did that happen?
Not overnight.
But how does it happen? Like, it had to happen somewhere. Like, you had to see something happen. You had to notice something. It's really it's just grit, Wheels. It's one of those things where, if you look at my plot of subscribers over time, there are definitely like inflection points where things picked up a little bit more and more. But I would say since 2022, it's been kind of constant. And in order to keep up with that constant, I've kind of had to put on the hat of, okay, like, I was doing long form. Now YouTube does shorts, so now I have to do short form. And then YouTube is going to start to incorporate podcasts. I have to start doing that too. So I started doing that. And then by the time you're done, I have projects that will never see the light of day that I filmed 3-4 years ago, that I'm looking at the footage now and I'm like, oh, this would have been so good, but it's just no longer relevant, because I went to producing more of shorts and more of podcast, and chasing that just to keep the flow of subscribers and views and stuff coming in. What I'm finding now, though, is being more focused on making a specific type of content and using that as a system to feed the others. It's making my workflow a little bit more efficient. So an example of that is the videos on my channel that do the best are the list videos. So like, if I'm like the best breakfast in the Outer Banks, then I did the best lunch, best dinner. Do you think that's because people are searching for the best?
Yeah. And it's also easy, like if people watch it and they're going and getting all the suggestions, they're more apt to come back for, like, if you do breakfast, then they're going to want lunch, they're going to want dinner. I just did beverages, but in building the most recent one, I said, okay, I know I'm going to do this also as shorts, so let me structure the video in a way where, instead of recording it twice and doing one long form video, one shorts video, I'm going to film it in 4K. So that when I go to edit it, I don't have to crop, I don't have to film different footage to get the vertical stuff. it'll just crop it, make sure everything's in the middle or move it around in editing, and structure the video such that, okay, I have my 7 drinks that I'm going to do, and then I have my honorable mentions. There's 8 shorts, 1 long form, and that's kind of what it is. So now that's how I'm thinking, and it's making it easier for me to actually produce stuff. And I think by doing that, it's going to make it such that at least keep the same stream of subscribers coming in. I will say over the last like 6 months, it's slowed down a little bit. But I am on track within the next, like, let's say 2 weeks to hit 10,000 subscribers, which is, it was the dream at the beginning. And it's kind of crazy that we're here. I just don't know what's next.
So well, your dad just passed very, very soon. He was, how long? About a month ago, correct?
Not even. It was Mother's Day.
What did he think? Oh, okay, that's right. What did he think of what you're doing in this business? And do you feel like in your own little way you're kind of carrying a little bit of the legacy on by doing this?
For sure. So when you say what clicked that made things work, it was actually something that my father said, that I don't think he realized how profound it was in the trajectory of the content creation. We made a video here on Father's Day. I think it was 2020 or 2021. It must have been 2021 because 2020 nobody was allowed to go anywhere. So we were making mozzarella. Actually, no, it was 2019. It was before all that. We were making mozzarella on Father's Day. So it was me, my son, my dad, and it was a fun video, but it was 18 minutes. So my dad got home, he watched it, and he's like, Jerry, like it's a really good video, but nobody's going to watch that. I said, yeah, that's really good feedback. So that led me to think, what am I doing here? Like, how can I expect somebody to watch? Because at the time I was making 25-minute videos, just of my day, and getting 10, 11 views and saying, what the hell am I doing? Like nobody's watching my videos, so then that made me think, all right, like, let me try doing something shorter. So I would do these recipes that were, between 5 and 10 minutes, and those were getting decent amount of views. And not just from search. So like, because of how to cook, if somebody, like, those are kind of easy things to make, because you can go to YouTube and you can figure out like how to cook, and then you'll see what comes up as like the most popular stuff. So then you could just do that, and then you'll get a lot of views, right? So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna make peas. I like peas. I'm gonna try cooking fresh peas. I'm gonna use the recipe on the back of the Trader Joe's bag, and I'm gonna do that. So I did that, and that video literally instantly took off, like in the suggested video stuff, not the search, because you could see the difference in YouTube. So I'm like, oh, okay, so this is a good thing. Or let me see, what can I do that's kind of similar to that? All right, how to cook kale. All right, that's another one, even bigger hit. My dad gave me a bunch of Swiss chard. All right, let me do that one. So literally, these are very similar recipes, just swapped out the vegetable, and things compound. Now that Swiss chard video, it's my #1 video daily. It gets over 250 views a day. And in that video, what I tested out was, all right, I used to put the personal part at the beginning. Let me put the personal part at the end. So it was like, if you watch that video, how to cook Swiss chard, the end is my dad in the garden picking this stuff and me saying, okay, that's enough. Right. So that's one of those things where, like, if you look at the retention graph, like, people watch kind of in the middle, like, it almost looks like a U, because at the end they see that and they're like, oh, that's funny. You know what I mean? So my dad gave me that advice to make the videos a little bit more to the point, and that was kind of the thing that was like, yeah, you know what? Like, if I get right to the point, forget about who I am, because right now I'm at the point where nobody cares who I am.
Ego can't drive the bus. You got to get to the point.
Yeah, like I can get back to the part, like, now that I have the following, I could build in a little bit more of the personality into it, which is what I'm trying to do, without having to just go straight to the point. But it was that advice that kind of got me that. And then right after that was when, like, shorts came out, and that's another one of those things that kind of helped with picking up momentum.
So if your dad, I mean, so that was interesting, because you listened to what he said, and it just clicked into something else, and you went off with it. But it actually came back to what your dad said. And it really is. I think he's right about that. But by him saying nobody's going to watch the video, I mean, like, it's like almost like he knows in his own little way. It's interesting how he was able to figure that out too. Like he was able to understand it as much as.
Even until like he was making videos on his phone with, because my father, he wouldn't give up the Salumeria mindset.
Right.
In the garage, my mom still has the stuff that he made this year. He's got lardo, he's got supersata, he's got dry sausage, cacciatorini. He made.
Wow.
I think he made like 20 pounds of capicolo. He like, so my mother doesn't know what to do with all of this stuff.
That's crazy. Hey, does it bother you when people say like gabagool and things like that?
No, I don't. I think it's funny. I always thought, like, I love Jersey Shore because, like, that to me is a parody of my family. You know what I mean?
Right. I think you're right about that. I think consistency is the main thing. Advice for aspiring creators, Jerry.
Understand where you fit into things, and don't go in with a lot of expectations. I think the big thing that everybody sees is, okay, if I make a video, people are going to have to watch it. No, right now everybody is so protective of their time, to a point. I mean, people are scrolling like crazy on TikTok, and they'll watch anything. But if you can come in with something and deliver them some kind of value, whether it's a recipe, or how to tie a tie, or some comedy, things like that, if you lead with that, people will want to get to know more about you, and then you can kind of build that more back into it. That's a lesson that you think the views is the goal, but the goal really should be the connections.
Okay, so YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Give me what order they should be in and the most importance for creators.
I think that's going to come down to your goals. So just in terms of like how I use the platforms, I would say Facebook is probably the least relevant. That's, I think, more of where the older people go to keep in touch with their families.
Okay, it's like the retirement community.
I mean, yes, but also businesses are kind of targeting there as well, because where older people are spending money, there's a lot of money in the advertisement there.
Different kinds of advertising, though, like dentist office and mortgage company, things like that. Reverse mortgage, investment stuff. Yeah,
that type stuff. So if your goal is that, then obviously spend more time working on that. I would say Instagram and TikTok are kind of equal, at least for me. Both are kind of social. TikTok seems like a little bit more of a random audience that kind of, when you post something, you don't seem to get the same return viewers as you do with Instagram. Like, even people who don't follow you, Instagram seems to send it to people who might not follow you but have watched your previous stuff a little bit more than TikTok. TikTok, it seems to be very dependent on what time of day you post as far as who sees it. And the interactions there, I think, are a little bit more superficial than Instagram. If your goal is to build a community, I think Instagram is probably the best place, because there's the direct messaging and things like that. If you have value content that you're making, so things like recipes, food content, I think there's a lot of power in YouTube. I think the problem with getting started on YouTube is that there are a lot of layers to it, and we talked a little bit about like the challenges and things like that.
You really need to know it.
I mean, you could get lucky and make something that's really good out of the gate, with a phone, have a thumbnail that without any editing is something that just has the intrigue to get people to click against everything else that they're seeing in their feeds and stuff like that. It's just so hard to keep up with that. Really, the challenge for me is just keeping consistent with, like, all right, like, I can make these vegetable videos where I'm essentially doing the same technique, sauteing onion, putting the vegetable, putting stock, covering it, and things like that. But like, is that what I want to do?
Right.
Like if views is the goal, then it's easy to re-engineer that. But that's really not what I want to do. I want to make fried rice, or I want to make chicken parm, or I want to make a chopped cheese, or something like that.
Chopped cheese is getting popular.
So back in 2020, that was one of my most popular videos, making a chopped cheese. I called it a New York chopped cheese because that was the search term at the time. But now it's not as popular because everybody's had it, right? So they're onto new stuff. They're onto burrata on the pizza and that type of stuff. But
Burrata on the pizza is crazy now. I love it though. It's great
for sure. But even with things like comedy, like if you want to get into comedy, YouTube is very powerful because you could build your library there, right? I think back to back when I was a kid, and how I got to know your career, through like Dice Rules. We had the VHS tapes. Like that essentially is what YouTube is. It's like you could put, if you have a tight 5-minute act, you could put that there, and then if you do it again, you could put that there too, and you see like they're the same.
Now, talking about getting into stand-up comedy, I mean, I always recommend if you really want to get into stand-up comedy, you got to get the How Not to Bomb book on how to be a stand-up comic. This is everything you need to know about stand-up comedy, Jerry. So just throwing it out there. That's what I would probably tell the aspiring stand-up comedian, to buy the book.
I always wanted to dabble in that, so I might need you to send me one of those.
I'll send you a copy. I'll sign it for you.
All right, sounds good.
You can get it. People can get it. Not you, Jerry, but people can get it in Amazon and and all that stuff. Kindle version. All right, I have a new segment on the show, Jerry. We're going to do the new segment. I'm going to start it off with you because everybody loves this new segment. So we're going to be doing this called Rapid Fire Questions. So I'm going to ask you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to ask you 6 questions. And
I'm going to not try to be as wordy with them.
Yeah, no, I just want to give you these quick questions, and don't think about them too long because the people love it. Don't you guys out there love it? Right? I mean, you like it, right? Yeah. No, I know. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it now. We're gonna do the questions. But Jerry's gonna start the whole thing. So.
I'm ready. I'm hyped.
Yeah, no. Yes. All right. I know. We got it. We're good. All right. Fucking idiot I am. All right. Question 1. Favorite Italian dish?
Chicken parm.
Naples or Calabria?
Calabria.
Favorite restaurant experience? You can get into it.
So I went to Alex Guarnaschelli's restaurant in New York City, Butter, and she was actually there. She was walking around. Go there. We talked about she came over to the table. We talked for 10 minutes about The Sopranos and how Prince used to eat in her restaurant and where Prince used to sit and what Prince used to eat. It was amazing.
Okay. One food you'll never eat, Jerry, ever.
Cauliflower.
Really?
I won't even look at it.
Even roasted or like cauliflower steak?
I won't even look at it.
Wow. Okay. And that was I hated it as a kid, but I love it now. All right. So biggest misconception about content creators?
That they film it and it goes right up.
Okay. There's more to it. How long does it take you to put a video out? On the actual video that you're making?
So for an 8-minute video, it probably takes me about 3 to 4 hours of editing.
Wow. So filming and then editing, because you're filming different takes, right?
Yeah, filming though, most of what I'm filming, I'm doing incidental. Like I don't film, like I don't schedule to film like specifically. Like, you know what I mean? If I go out to eat, I'm going out to eat and I'm getting the footage. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
does it ever get in the way when you're going out to eat? Do you ever have to, do you ever not get any footage and just kind of go out to eat?
That's a really good question, actually. So it's something I weigh a lot with my wife because she likes to try a lot of new restaurants, but it's also on our date nights. Mm-hmm. So I've gotten really good about just getting low key B-roll footage that I can repurpose into voiceovers later.
Sneaking it in there, doing it.
For the most part, she doesn't care. It's not. It's more about like just not disrupting our dinner. You know what I mean?
Right. One thing people don't know about Jerry.
I'm a certified yoga instructor. I guess I already said that.
Now I did know that, but yeah, I did know that because you were into it a long time ago. Because we know each other a long time. But yeah, I would say that's something. Yeah. Is there anything else that just people don't know about you?
I don't know. I'm pretty open online. I guess I'm kind of reserved, but yeah, I don't have
nothing
anything
clicks.
I don't keep things secret. At least I don't feel like I do.
Hey, Jerry, if your father was sitting here in the studio tonight, this is not a rapid fire question. If he was sitting in the studio tonight and what would you want him to know about the life that you're getting ready to build? He knows about the life that you had and had before he passed, but what you're getting ready to do, is there anything that you want to reassure him? What would the conversation be if he asked that question?
So if he was here, he'd be really worried that that I didn't have a plan. And I would tell him I still don't have a plan, but I got this.
You got this.
I'm good.
Do you believe he's around you once in a while?
Yeah, I mean,
now you're a scientist, so it was a little bit weird for me to have asked that question because
No, it's okay. This is something I've actually been struggling with over the last month because one thing that I wasn't prepared for is just the like there's that, like the emptiness is there, but just in terms of spiritually, because I was raised Catholic, but I would say I'm not a practicing Catholic.
Neither am I. Yeah.
But and I don't really have the beliefs of the Catholic Church or anything like that. But like my struggle is, what do I need spiritually right now? So in terms of like, do I think he's there? I mean, I think in terms of everything, there's definitely like the memories are there, and that might be what it is.
And the thought process, thinking about him, and the memories.
Yeah,
it's in your heart.
Like, another thing is I watched, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey. It's a very it's a movie. It's on the surface it's about traveling through space, but it's a little bit more spiritual in the sense that like the way the movie unravels. There's like the presence of other beings end up kind of tying to human spirituality and things like that. So I think I don't want to say I don't think he's here, like, because I that's not really what I think, but it's complicated in that, like, I don't think like it's a ghost, and I don't believe Padre Pio could heal people. And
he's not like watching over you like that.
Yeah. But I do feel like the life that I had and the memories that I had with him are with me in the sense that everything that got me to where I am, and where I currently am, his presence is with me to have gotten me to this point. And
his advice over the years and things you keep with you and try to do. Like, I still do that with my mom. I mean, I always tell my daughter, Grandma would have done it this way, or Grandma loved that. I try to live. It's something that keeps me alive, keeps me thinking of my mom and passing it on to my daughter. My daughter never met my mom, so and even with your son now, your son is 10, and he remembers his grandfather. But always keep it around. Always say, Grandpa would have loved this, or Grandpa would have done that. Oh, let me tell you what Grandpa would have said. But keep that in his head. And make him know him forever. It'll even though he's not around, he'll always know he's there.
Absolutely. We do the same thing with in the middle of the pandemic, my wife's father passed away, and my son still remembers him. So like, when things tie back to stuff that happens around the house, because he fixed everything in our house, something breaks, be like, Grandpa Buddy's not around to fix that, but he loved doing it. So like, that's definitely the type of relationship I want to keep with my son in terms of my dad's memory. You
do. I tell you, man, I had a great time talking to you tonight. This was a great show. I think that I think the new thing that I'm trying to do right now, I'm trying to transition How Not to Bomb into Everybody's Got a Story. But I kind of like the How Not to Bomb name, but I also love Everybody's Got a Story. So now it's like How Not to Bomb presents Everybody's Got a Story. And I learn things as I go, because I was thinking, well, I'll have this show, How Not to Bomb, and we'll just interview successful people and entrepreneurs and business people and content creators, and we'll learn the trials and tribulations and how they lost everything and how they gained everything back. But then that gets old, man. The celebrities, it gets old. And and my wife was talking to me, and this is great again, how your wife was part of your YouTube journey. My wife the other night goes, it's a great show, but you need to start interviewing other people. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, everybody's got a story. I'm like, you're right. And, here I am, Mr. Calabrese, stubborn, gabadost. I don't want to listen to nobody. I do listen to my wife, though, trust me. I said, you're right. Yeah, we have to. And she's usually right, to be honest with you. And then she goes, yeah, everybody's got a story, but about the guy who owns the neighborhood, the mechanic down the block. I mean, nobody ever talks to him. You know, nobody ever talks to the guy who owns the furniture store. Nobody cares. Unless you got 1 million people following you, that's all the people want. So that's why I'm doing Everybody's Got a Story, and that's why I'm making this kind of transition into it.
You never know. You might stumble into something, because that's like all of these people that, you know, like these live streamers who go around, like they only get big because something happens. You know what I mean? They're nobodies too.
Right.
So everybody starts at that. You know, so you know you might like. I'm sure I wasn't the person, but you might come up with somebody who has a compelling story that clicks with a lot of people, and it's like, hey, I saw this on that guy Mike Wheels Parise's show. You know, this guy's great. You got to go check this out. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. So here we go. I'm going to tell you the reason why I wanted to have you on the show. Not only because you're my friend. Let's forget about friends. Let's forget about that we know we talk on a personal level.
Okay.
Why I wanted to have Jerry Papandrea on the show. Just say you were who you are, and you know you were a fan of mine, and it stayed just that way. I would want to interview you because you support so many people's shows, and you follow them, and you watch their movies, and you do their thing, and you watch them on YouTube, and you follow their podcasts, and you support them. But I wanted to be the one. I would have wanted to be the one to say I want to support you. I want to hear your story too. It's not just always about wheels and rolling with dice and wheels and all the bullshit. What about Jerry? I want to know about Jerry. And I think that was the reason why I would have had you on the show if I didn't know you. But now I know I wanted to talk to you anyway, but it just would have been that way. And because you've been supporting me since fucking forever. And my coffee and all my crazy things that I do, you're always one of the first ones to like it. You're always right there. You'll always text me something on the Instagram, do this, do that. And I'm like, well, that's like, these are the people I want to support too, and I want to have them on the show. I want to hear their story. Forget about just me, and that's why. And I'm glad I had you on the show.
It means a lot, man. I've told this story before on the show, but how I got to know you was through Dice Rules. Like you were the doctor who beats him with a hammer,
Dr. Slaughter.
Then over the years, like I watched the VH1 show. You were kind of like the comic relief. It's funny because like on Dice's show, you were the comic relief.
Yes.
Like they made you like the idiot. You know what I mean?
I am the funnier one of the two.
That's true. But no, like there's scenes in there where like instead of showing Dice, going into his thing, like they show you at the buffet. Like what I mean?
Yeah. I was like the stooge, but I played that role though,
Right. So like, I saw that, and then when you launched Rolling with Dice and Wheels, you were very active online. So that's when I was like, let me make a joke to him about, being Calabrese or something like that. Like, I remember DMing you early on and being like, hey, my family's Calabrese. I'm sure we're related somewhere down the line here. And that's where we started connecting. And just the fact that you're able to be so interactive with your fans, to me is one of those things where, there's a lot of parasocial relationships on the internet where like you can interact with somebody and really think that they're your friend, right? But I feel like with you, we've been able to build a bond that's a little bit more than that. Where like if we're ever in the same place and we want to get us full Yadel and a coffee, that's something we've been talking about for a long time.
If I was ever up by you, you'd be the first person I said, let's hang out and have lunch. I mean, I wouldn't even think twice about it. And so I would hope that you would do the same if you were in this area.
A lot of connections in that regard. That's kind of where I'm coming from. And I always with the stuff that you do and the stuff that even Dice. Dice is somebody I'm never gonna have a relationship like I do with you, right? But I'll always support what he does. It's one of those things that I'm a very loyal person.
He's an acquired taste, Jerry. He's an acquired taste.
Dice?
Yeah.
Nah, Dice is. He's, I think, one of the most misunderstood comedians of all time.
He really is. He really is.
I think he got wrapped up in cancel culture 20 years before cancel culture became a thing.
They tried to cancel him from Saturday Night Live. Nora Dunn, if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember. Those are still like when he did the Raging Bull. Like that's one of the funniest things that if that would have ever aired on SNL, that would have been the most popular episode of all time. You know what I mean?
The Raging Bull thing was hilarious.
Yeah, it's amazing they still have that footage.
I'm your older brother.
Yeah, Joey, you're my older brother. But it like if you see through it and you see, okay, this is an act. My wife took me to see Dice right after the pandemic at Governor's in Long Island, and it was right after he had the stroke, and when he got up there on stage, Wheels, over the years, I've had a couple of kind of reality hits where it's like, I'm not going to live forever, and people are getting old, and when he got up there, first of all, it meant so much to in his condition to get up there and want to entertain the crowd, right? That was number one. But seeing him like that, it was like, this is not the Dice Man that I've wanted to see my entire life. It was still amazing, and I still enjoyed it. But it was just like the night my dad passed, the feeling was the same that night. It's kind of funny that I had that feeling that night.
Yeah, it's just the way, he's still relevant. He's still doing his thing, as you know, and he's relentless. He doesn't stop these fucking videos. He just goes.
He adapts. He saw that it hits where he goes. He's a man on the street, and he's doing something funny.
The whole famous face and all that.
Now he's going into the leather stores and the hat stores, and it's
it's great.
It's a very niche thing, but it's not the hickory dickory dock.
No,
but
it's dedication. Funny. He's still dedicated to doing it.
It's funny. He's funny. That's you can't teach that.
I agree. Well, thank you for doing the show, Jerry. I appreciate you being on. We did a nice show tonight. What do you think? This was a great one, I think. An hour and 20 minutes. We did a nice. Really got a lot of people got to know you. I got to ask you one thing though. You had texted me earlier about, and this is advice. So anybody listening to the show, I'm just asking for a bit of advice. And people know that I'm not the smartest guy in the world with certain things. I know. I got you. I know. But I was wondering about the, you said put at DerryX Dines when I upload the episode. Did you mean when I upload the episode, or did you mean before we went on the air?
Wait, so when you're editing the YouTube, I don't. Do you go right from Riverside to YouTube?
So Riverside will, and then what Riverside will do is it'll create the episode through what they call it'll make it like an AI version. What it'll do, it'll fix the sound, it'll fix the video, it does all the stuff to make it like a magic episode, it calls. And then I put it in, and then it'll give me the what should be the description of the show, and it's really good how they do it. And they'll give me the catchphrase and everything, the tag, the hook. I mean,
so does it populate a title?
I put the title on. So when I make the title, I'll put that episode whatever. I'll put I'll put Jerry Papandrea. Should I put Jerry Papandrea at DerryX?
Just put my handle at the very end of the title so that you keep the front being catchy for somebody to click on it, and then at the end, if you just tag at DerryX Dines, what it'll do is it should alert my subscribers
on the title.
So that, yeah.
Okay, so now we know. All right, Jerry, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I got to know you a little better, and after all I got to know about you, I still think you're a nice guy.
Well, thanks. That means a lot, Wheels. Thanks a lot for having me on. I know a lot of my answers were a little wordy, but
no, I love it though. I love it. You're analytical. That's how you are, man. You got to get it out there. You got to finish what you say. You need to get it out there the right way. So
that's it.
I appreciate it, man. Well, thank you so much, man. It was great having you on the show today. How you like that little music at the end, people? And how it kind of blends in. Ladies and gentlemen, DerryX. Don't forget, follow him at DerryX Dines on YouTube. Where can they find you on Instagram, Jerry? DerryX on Instagram, and everywhere else you see Jerry Papandrea. We're going to listen to this show right now. We'll go on to it'll be on YouTube and the rebroadcast, of course, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon. I'm Michael Wheels Parise. Thank you very much, Jerry, for being on the show, and you and I will talk later. All right, brother.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.